Aha! Good evening, viewers. Now, I've been thinking about doing this for quite some time, 23 years actually. Originally, I had a story written I was going to send into an angling magazine as a sort of Christmas ghost story, or just a spiritual ghost story, not necessarily Christmas. But never mind, it never happened. And now, after 23 years, I would like to put this out to you on Facebook and YouTube, my YouTube channel. A little story. And it concerns my late father and my brother. And it's a day that I remember so clearly. Now, as it's Christmas tree, I thought I would start off with a bit of a Dickens theme, you know, when he says, old Marley was dead. Well, Arthur Smith was dead. There can be no doubt whatsoever about that. And he was dead. My father had died, and a week after the funeral, we decided that we would go out fishing, my brothers and I, to take our minds off the grief and the loss and everything else, and try and get things back to a par. And not only that, it was a way of just getting away from things. Yes, so we decided we would go to and fish the mere, Hornsey Mere. Now, as it turns out, Howard and Stephen couldn't make it anyway, so Ashley and I went. So if Ashley Pace is watching this, hello, sir. Anywho, so what happened was, Ashley and I decided we'd go on the mere and we'd go after the perch, the big perch that are in the mere. And the mere is a very old glacial lake, but it's not deep like some of the glacial lakes elsewhere. It's not a deep lake, but it's a big lake. It covers a lot of acres, and it's quite mysterious. There are a lot of fish sometimes, and sometimes there's no fish. It's a strange place, and it's got a lot of ghost stories actually around the perimeters in the forest. All these monks are supposed to walk there, who were butchered by some baron or some duke in dispute over the fishing rights. There was actually a monastery quite close by. Anywho, I'm digressing from my story, which is the most important. Now, as I said, Dad was dead, and we'd buried him on the Friday. And the following weekend, not the Saturday after, but the following weekend, Ashley and I went out into the mere, and our plan was we were going to row out to the outer boundary, because you can't have motors on the mere. You've got to row. And then from there we would work out the wind directions and how it was blowing, and then work our way back. So at the end of the fishing day, we could just row into the boathouse, and that was that. So we set out with optimism, without a shadow of a doubt. But it was a grey autumn day. It was quite drizzly and rainy and quite windy. And so we put out, and I was at the oars. I'm actually quite good at pulling oars, believe it or not. I am. And off we went. And we dug a great load of worms. We had big lob worms. We had a lot of brandlings that came up as well. Some red worm, nice wriggly ones. And it was just perch bobs, worms, split shot, and nothing more. Because on the mere, the trick is finding the fish. It's nothing to do with fancy tackle. It's never been fancy tackle. You know, oh, these fish are hook shy. I best use a size 22 hook on a ½ pound bottom. Forget it. Not necessary. You've got to find the fish. And that is the hard bit. So as I said, we'd made our plan. We were going to row across to the boundaries and then work our way back either on the Hull Road side or the Seaton Road side, as was. But anyway, back to the day. It's a drizzly, dark day. And I'm pulling on the oars. And Ashley says to me, hey, you Patrick, have you seen all the water in here? And I said, well, yeah, but it's been raining, hasn't it? It's probably just water from the rain, that's all. And I carried on up the oars and didn't think any more of it. And he said, you, Patrick, look at it. He said, it's coming in. He said, there's more water. Look at it, it's pissing in. And as I looked down, I realised that it was getting above the gunnel, well, not the gunnels, the boards, the duck boards. And even so, I was saying, come on, it's just ducky. There can't be anything wrong with it. So I carried on rowing, and at the point we reached, probably the furthest you can get from any bank on the Mere, Ashley said, fucking hell, you, Patrick, look at it. And as I looked down, I realised it was above the duck boards and up to my ankles in water. I said, freaking no, what are we going to do? And after a bit of deliberation, what happened was we put all the worms into one bait tub. Ashley started bailing out and we put for shore. And we banked on that if we get to the Seaton Road side, we can get a thumber lift into town, down to the boat, down to Mearside and down to the boathouse. So off we went. And by this time, he's bailing out full speed. He's struggling to keep up with the water. And I'm pulling for all I'm worth on these bloody oars. And bang. And eventually, of course, we got to shore and we beached up on a gravel bank. And it was around the Brockholm Bends. There's a lot of reeds, but there's like some shallow gravel banks around there. And we up on this gravel bank, and there was so much water in that boat. You know, another 15 minutes we would have just gone down. We couldn't. It was just pure luck that we got there. And anyhow, so we got back to shore, and I said, right, I'll barge through the woods and onto the Seaton Road. I'll thumb a lift round, Ash, if you've got all the gear ready to swap over to another boat. So I went out onto the Brockholm Bends and started walking down Seaton Road. And then, with a stroke of luck, an old colleague of mine, Neil Granger, came tooting round in one of the works vans, going to pick up some materials. It's a Saturday morning. And I thought, yes, so I waved, yes. Anyway, he waved back real friendly and carried on driving. And I thought, fucking hell. I asked him later, he says, well, I just thought you was on one of your walks. Which was fair comment, really, because at that time I did used to do a lot of wandering around Wasson and around the Mere and stuff. So, bloody hell. Anywho, from that point on, I think maybe 2 cars came by, which I didn't know. And so I walked from Wasson Bends all the way into town, down Mearside, round to the boathouse. And so I explained what had happened, and they said, well, no problem, we'll just hitch up, we'll take the painter of one of the rowing boats, and we'll take the motorboat, and we'll pick up the flooded boat, and we'll get it back before it sinks. So off we went, and we secured the painter to one of the rowing boats, and with the motor on, we're there in pretty short, no time at all. And there on the beach was our Ash. It looked like the rear guard of the Dunkirk evacuation. He was quite on his own. So in we went, bang, and we got the boat up and we transferred the gear. And the motorboat went off with the fishing boat that we'd hired, and we thought no more of it. So we said, well, what now, Ash? What are we going to do now? And Ashley said, well, he said, back in the early 70s, we always used to catch fish at that buoy on the Hull roadside. And that buoy is I think it's the South East buoy. And I said, for want of a better idea, let's just go for that. He said, so let's get cracking then. So I was at the oars again, and off we went. Now the rowing boats on the Mere, those wooden ones, are really good at rowing. really good. You couldn't. So we got a bit of a lick on, and off we went. And before I knew it, there we were. And as we rode across, the wind dropped. The sun started breaking through in the clouds, and it became one of those really archetypal, nice autumn days. You know, it's fresh, but it was sunny and nice. And as we came to the buoy, which Ashley hadn't been there for over 20 years, since she was a kid, we weighed the anchor nice and gently. Ashley wasted no time, in with the float, and bang, the float went down, and he got himself a nice perch, £1.5 at least. And as he got it in the boat, the spines went in his hand really deep. And he said, "Ah, you bastard, it's freaking got me." Anyway, the perch went back in, and his hand was covered in blood. And now, if you don't know what or how hard a perch spine is, trust me, it's like a needle. They're really, really sharp. And this one had stuck him good and proper, and there was blood all over. So we took the hygienic, cleansed fishing towel, covered in lugworm and worm juice, whatever, and cleaned him up. But the funny thing was, after that point, we then fished, not for that long, but we caught perch after perch after perch. Nice, beautiful coloured, big perch. It was unbelievable. It was every drop in. We couldn't go wrong. Just a marvellous experience. But again, like all days, they have to stop, and we had to stop fishing. And we made our way into the boathouse, across to the jetties, and landed in. And we were laughing a bit about the flooding and the strange events, really, about how we'd found the fish, which are hard to find, purely by memory and nostalgia. And then that we were thwarted again with the blood on the hand. And as I look back at the boat that we'd got to take us out to the spot, it was number 29. Now, the relevance of number 29 is it was the year Dad was born. And I said to Ash, "Have you seen what number that boat is?" He said, "No, why?" I said, "Look at it, it's number 29. I went, fuck. He's been with us." And I think he freaking has. Now, you may think it's like some form of grief, fantasy, whatever, and these are fair enough. It's a fair point if you think it was a grief, and we're looking for answers and we're looking for comfort. But that isn't really where the story ends, because some weeks later I was down the Mere again, and the guy who was running the Mere at the time, he asked me again. He said, "What was it happened out on the lake that day? What happened to that boat?" And I explained how it took on water. We had to row into land as quick as we could, because the amount of water that was coming in, Ashley couldn't keep up with bailing. And he said, "Well, we went through that boat with a fine tooth comb." He said, "We didn't find a crack, a split, a hole, or even a small hairline fracture, which wouldn't let the water in that quick anyway. They found nothing." He said that hull is watertight. And so confident had they been that they'd actually hired the boat out several times, and they'd come in and said, "Nothing at all wrong." So, a strange day of events. Shortly after Dad's death, I remember actually as Ashley was bailing out, he kept saying, it's your dad, it's Arthur, it's bloody Arthur, it's." And it made me think. So, yeah, I'm not putting this forward as proof of the afterlife. I'm just pushing it forward as a strange collection of events. And I just can't explain the water coming in. Beyond me. it's just beyond me where the water was coming from. So to the cynics, it's bollocks. But to the open-minded, it's, ooh, maybe, just maybe, when we're eating our Christmas dinners and celebrating Christmas with our loved ones and our families, there might be some guests that you didn't expect. Just over the shoulder. You know, just out that eye view. Merry Christmas. And God bless us, everyone.